Shocking twist in Golden State. Steph Curry's last-minute decision stuns NBA. If you're a Golden State fan, you probably have the same feeling as me. Something very wrong is happening. Every day brings new news, behind-the-scenes rumors, strange weather, and now this last-minute decision by Steph Curry that promises to change everything. But don't worry. In this video, I'm going to show you what's really behind this turnaround, what it means for the Warriors' future, and, most importantly, whether it's still worth believing in this team. So stay with me until the end to understand what no one is telling you. Before we get into the details of this bomb in Golden State, quickly, if you live NBA, breathe Warriors, and don't like to hear about things last, subscribe to the channel now. Take advantage and hit the like, because this shows YouTube that you want more videos like this, and I can bring you more behind-the-scenes analysis and news at the last minute. Oh, and activate the bell, because in the next few hours you can paint more details about Curry's decision, and I'll bring it all here firsthand. Once that's done, let's move on to the video, because what I'm going to show you now completely changes the way you look at the future of Golden State. Urgent news. Something has really changed in Golden State. A decision made behind the scenes at the last minute is messing with everything you and I know about this franchise. If you've been following the Warriors for a while, you know how exhausting it has been. One moment the team excites, the next it disappoints, lives under criticism, raises hopes, and then frustrates again. And in the midst of all this, a decision emerges that could represent not just another chapter, but a turning point in Golden State's recent history. The curious thing is that many people saw the headline, heard rumors, noticed a different atmosphere, but didn't really understand what it meant. That's exactly what I want to talk to you about. Before we delve deeper into this topic, into this whole twist involving Golden State and Draymond Green, let me make a quick invitation. If you like calm, well-explained analyses, if you want to understand what happens beyond the headlines, instead of just consuming empty polemics, subscribe to the channel. Here, the idea is not just to report, it is to contextualize. Every day, I bring videos for those who really care about the franchise, the story, and what is being built now. If this makes sense to you, click subscribe, leave a like, and activate the notification bell. This way, you don't run the risk of discovering the next twists days later, by chance, in some comment posted on the networks. Now, let's get to what matters. You and I know that talking about Golden State today is talking about something much bigger than recent results. It's talking about an era that marked basketball, a team that changed the way the game is played, a group that stopped being just a competitive team and became a symbol of a style. And within that symbol, there is a name that cannot be erased. Draymond Green. Over the course of a decade, Draymond was everything that doesn't always appear in statistics: intensity, defense, leadership, provocation, emotional energy. He was the player who shouted, who charged, who put his body forward, who accepted a difficult role, who defended the team with a type of courage that sometimes bordered on excess. Therefore, talking today about Golden State considering following a new path, possibly without Draymond, is not just a tactical issue. It's a discussion that touches on the team's identity, its relationship with the fans, and the way the franchise wants to be seen from now on. I know this is not easy to hear. Maybe you've already caught yourself thinking something like, "But what do you mean by messing with him? Isn't that an exaggeration? After everything he did, is it fair to consider an exit like this?" These questions are natural. They show that you're not just looking at numbers. You're looking at history, at memory, at what you feel when you watch a Warriors game. However, at the same time, there is another dimension that the organization needs to face, that of the present and the future. And the decision that is being designed involves exactly this clash between gratitude and necessity. In recent months, the mood around the team has changed. It didn't happen overnight. These were signs. More careful statements, evasive answers in interviews, discreet behind-the-scenes meetings, a different stance from the board. All of this began to indicate that something bigger was being debated, something that went beyond a simple change of bench player or specific adjustments to the squad. And, little by little, it became clear that the name at the center of this reflection was Draymond Green. It wasn't a single episode that triggered everything, but it's impossible to deny that a recent moment gained symbolic weight. In a game against the New Orleans Pelicans, an interaction with a fan went beyond the stadium level. Normal discomfort from a match to a real tension point. Comments from the stands were repeated, the tone rising, until Draymond decided to respond. Instead of moving away, he approached, retorted, entered into an exchange that could have gone further, had it not been for the intervention of those nearby. After the match, he explained his side, talked about feeling disrespected, about limits that, in his perception, had been exceeded. It's easy to look at this and see different things. Some will say, he just defended himself, there's no need to crucify him. Others will remember a whole sequence of situations throughout their career. Suspensions, excessively harsh moves, moments when, instead of talking about the team, they talked about Draymond's behavior. And it is precisely where these two readings meet that the sensitive point of the decision lies. It's not that Draymond stopped being a great player. He still sees the game with a clarity that very few have. He still organizes the defense, anticipates plays, communicates, gives instructions on the court like a real coach in uniform. He is still capable of passes that open up the opponent's defense, of coverages that prevent easy baskets, of doing the dirty work that almost no one wants to do. But the NBA has changed. The Golden State itself has changed. The room for error has shrunk. Keeping a player on the court who offers little offensively in certain configurations, while carrying a history of episodes that can break out at any moment, has an increasingly high cost. Technical, emotional, and financial. And this is where the other side of the issue comes in, the future of the franchise. When you look at the current roster, you don't just see the veterans. You also see Jonathan Kuminga attacking the basket with conviction, little by little refining his shot. See Moses Moody building space as a perimeter player, capable of scoring and contributing on both sides of the court. See Moody Podziemsky demonstrating reading of the game, courage, ability to hold the ball in important moments. These young people don't just need minutes on the court. They need responsibility, context, an environment in which they can make mistakes, learn, grow, without living all the time in the shadow of a focus that is often concentrated on a single figure. And as hard as it is to admit, Draymond Green is a presence that fuels intense love and intense conflict. It inspires, but also exhausts. It resolves, but also complicates. He is, at the same time, part of the solution and part of the problem. From the board's point of view, this equation becomes inevitable. To what extent is it sustainable to continue betting on a model that requires so much emotional management and so much care off the court, while the franchise tries to build a bridge to the future? There is also a reality that cannot be ignored: the salary cap. Draymond's contract is hefty, and every dollar committed in that range represents a choice. By choosing to keep him, the franchise in practice gives up other possibilities: different reinforcements, adjustments to the squad, greater flexibility in exchanges. It's as if each season approaches a dilemma. Insist on the idea that worked in the past, or accept that perhaps the cost of maintaining it today is too high for what it actually delivers. This does not diminish his legacy. On the contrary, speaking honestly about the present is also a way of honoring the past, because it shows that the franchise does not simply want to live on memories, while the reality on the court becomes increasingly distant from the great memories. You may remember times when Draymond was decisive without even leading the score, a stump at a crucial time, a defense in return against a taller player, a pass that dismantles the entire opposing defensive structure. These are images that justify, and will always justify, the affection of the fans. It's because of these scenes that many fans think, I can't imagine the Warriors without him. But professional sport, as painful as it may be, doesn't always allow decisions to be based solely on what is emotionally comfortable. There are times when an organization must choose between keeping history intact or giving history itself a chance to renew itself. In this context, scenarios begin to emerge. The possibility of a trade, which would require finding a team willing to take on Draymond's contract and, along with it, all the intensity of his personality. Some franchises could see this as an opportunity to bring in someone with experience and defensive impact. Others, perhaps, chose to avoid the risk of instability. There is also the idea of a negotiated exit, something in which both parties recognize that the cycle has come to an end and, respectfully, open space for each party to follow a different path. None of these alternatives are simple. Any of these paths would bring a type of rupture that does not go unnoticed. See Draymond Green in another jersey would be a shock to any basketball fan. For Golden State's fan base, it would almost be like watching a chapter that officially closes the most memorable era in the franchise's recent history. At the same time, it's impossible not to look ahead and imagine another kind of Golden State. A lighter team behind the scenes, with a locker room environment in which the main daily concern is just the game. How to defend better, how to adjust rotations, how to integrate veterans and young people in a natural way, instead of spending so much energy managing crises, explanation conferences, discussions about behavior. Imagine a scenario where Steph Curry, still performing at a high level, is surrounded by younger players who can grow alongside him rather than just watching from a distance. A team in which Kuminga, Moody, and Podziemsky are not just promises who need to adapt to an emotionally tense environment, but protagonists in a more stable project. This is what makes this moment so delicate. On the one hand, the fear of giving up someone who was essential. On the other, the fear of doing nothing and, in a few years, realizing that the team has become stuck in a model that is no longer sustainable. Maybe you are wondering, but wouldn't it be a betrayal of the team's history? That's a fair question, but there is another, just as important. Wouldn't it also be a form of respect for this same story to try to ensure that it doesn't end in a dragged-out way without competitiveness? Just holding on to well-known names while performance drops season after season? The truth is that both sides of this conversation have weight. It's normal for there to be division in the crowd. Some will defend Draymond's stay until the end. Others will welcome the possibility of a profound renewal. My role here is not to determine a verdict. It means walking alongside you in this reflection, showing the different sides of this decision, and giving you elements to form your own opinion. If all this really comes to fruition, if Draymond Green really stops wearing the Warriors jersey, it won't be just one transaction among many. It will be the end of a chapter that marked a generation, but it could also be the beginning of a new cycle in which his legacy does not disappear. On the contrary, it becomes the foundation on which something new is built. A team that learns from what it has experienced and uses this experience to avoid repeating the same mistakes indefinitely. And this is where I want to hear from you. How do you see this possibility? Do you think the Warriors should move forward without Draymond? In your view, did the weight of recent controversies and problems outweigh the weight of everything he offered during his glory years? What type of return, in a possible exchange, would make sense for you? Leave your comment. Write calmly. Bring your vision, your memories, your concerns. The idea is for this space to be a place for mature conversation, in which we can, together, understand the dimension of this moment in the history of the franchise. If you want to continue following every step of this process, every rumor, every decision, every tactical and strategic analysis that connects to this possible outcome, stay here on the channel. Every day, the commitment is to bring thoughtful, contextualized content that goes beyond the easy label and tries to look at what is happening in depth. The story of the Golden State Warriors does not end with this decision. She changes direction, and I want to accompany this change by your side. When we look back in the future, it is very likely that this period will be remembered as a turning point. The moment when the franchise had to choose between clinging to what it was or taking risks in search of what it could still be. The shirt remains the same. The shield continues to represent the same franchise. The fans are still huge, passionate, present, but the pieces are clearly moving. And the way Golden State will position itself in the face of this turnaround could redefine what you and I will see from this team in the coming years. When you finish this video, if you want to delve deeper into this discussion, go to the Warriors Analysis playlist in the pinned comment. There, I break down squad movements, exchange possibilities, tactical fits, the role of young people alongside Steph, and everything that has been built silently behind the scenes. Click on the playlist, watch the other videos, and come with me to follow, step by step, this possible change of era in Golden State. If the dynasty is changing shape, you deserve to understand not just that it's happening, but how and why every decision is being made. And this is where everything is decided. Either Golden State has the courage to face this change head-on, assuming that one cycle has ended so that another can be born, or it runs the risk of being stuck in a glorious past while the future, this feeling slips through your fingers. We are facing one of those moments that, up front, we look at and say, that's where history changed. That's where the Warriors chose who they wanted to be. Whether it's Draymond starting a new chapter elsewhere, or the franchise redesigning its identity around young people and Steph, one thing is certain. What lies ahead won't be small. It will hurt, it will divide opinions, but it could also be the gateway to a new era as remarkable as the one that has already passed. And if you want to follow every detail of this transition, understand every movement, every tactical adjustment, every board decision, I invite you to take the next step now. Once this video ends, go straight to the Warriors Analyzes playlist in the pinned comment. There, I delve into all of this. Trade scenarios, impact on the squad, role of young people, future of the franchise, and what Draymond's possible departure really represents. Click on the playlist, binge-watch the videos, and come with me to follow in real time this possible turning point in the history of the Golden State Warriors. Because if the storm is brewing, you deserve to see every ray before it cuts the sky.